Hello and welcome back to F1 Rolling Start Podcast, where I am James and he is...
I'm Ben.
Wow, that was full Will Buxton of me.
Have
you seen him do that?
Absolutely.
Incredible. First thing we have to say is that the China Grand Prix was absolutely incredible.
It was great.
And we also missed a week. So I'm so sorry, but we tried to record. Ben was traveling. My Wi-Fi didn't work. It was a travesty.
I was in a hotel lobby, and it just wasn't great. My Wi-Fi was all over the place. So.
After 4 hours in post with the team, i.e. myself and my frustrations, we decided to can the whole episode. But the China Grand Prix was...
It made up.
Phenomenal.
It made up for it.
I didn't realize how much I loved that racetrack.
Yeah, no, it was... I don't know that I've actually went back and watched the old races in China because obviously it's been a minute. So that was my first time actually seeing races there.
And it was great racing.
No, it was great.
It was phenomenal. There was a bit of a wild weekend. It was rain at one point, people spinning all over the place in qualifying. It was all over the field. Incredible sprint race.
Yeah, that was incredible.
And
the grass was catching fire twice.
Yes. Titanium sparks setting ablaze the side of the China racetrack.
Unreal.
Huge deal. Massive race. Incredible time. Massive. Very, very important. Pretty much. My people are checking into it. It was phenomenal. Max won.
Of course.
Surprise, surprise.
There's no more surprises at this point.
Big surprises. Lando Norris came in P2, followed by Checo in P3.
Yeah, Checo couldn't catch him. Lando did a great job. It was, I mean, the weekend, there were great moments where we see Hamilton leading a sprint.
Yeah.
Lando, in P1. But then the inevitable just kind of settles in and we shift into inevitable gear, which is Max being as dominant as humanly possible.
It was kind of, it was filling me with hope that we were going to have another weekend like Australia.
Yeah.
Where it was just going to be up in the air.
Especially after quali, I was like, this is possible.
Like chaos. Like instead of playing a structured card game, you're playing Uno. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yes.
And because qualifying, we had the Red Bull not being able to get the settings correct, sliding all over the place, looking like it was driving on ice. You had Lando Norris popping in incredible laps. You had Hamilton and Lando on the front. Right? Like
Hamilton at one point was in P1.
Crazy. Yes.
And I was like, oh my God, James is losing his mind. And then I
was losing my mind.
It was reinstated lap. I was like,
and
so close.
I'm like facing this like internal struggle because I'm like, it makes total sense that they reinstated his lap based off of the rules, but why do they have to only ever enforce the rules when it's not to my benefit?
I know. But Hamilton ultimately in the first corner just
nailed it. And Norris again, it's a story of his career where it's almost but not quite.
Yeah.
And again, he just loses it. Hamilton masterfully pushes him right up to the edge. And he sticks with him, and Hamilton gave him every choice to pull back. He decides not to, tries to hang it in there, and ends up going off the track. Hamilton leads for 9 laps, and it's looking amazing. I'm loving life. And then all of a sudden, Max figures out how to turn his battery back on or whatever.
Yeah.
And by the end of the 19-lap sprint race, Max Verstappen was over 10 seconds ahead of Lewis Hamilton. My question is, what would have happened if his battery was working since lap 1? 15, 20, 30? Who knows?
Do we actually know his true pace? I don't think we do. Because of, certain mechanical things, or there's safety cars that bunch everyone back up. But I don't know that we actually know the true pace of Max and this car at this point in the season.
I don't think we do. He also goes on to win, obviously, the race on Sunday, which was a really fun race to watch.
It was a good race, yeah.
And
it was a solid race.
It was fun. But again, it's Max winning.
Yes.
The story is Red Bull have nailed these car regulations for, now the 4th year running.
And Mercedes, you can only say we're wrong so many times.
The story isn't even Red Bull and Mercedes anymore.
No.
Mercedes isn't even in the story.
No, at one point,
it's
Mercedes
Red Bull
was
and Ferrari and McLaren and
Aston,
what's that?
Through.
Alpine? No, Mercedes.
No.
And it's rough right now. I guess my question is, in the week before, you had in Japan, you had Ferrari 20 seconds behind. You had 20 seconds behind that McLaren behind Verstappen. Is this good for F1?
Well, and I think we talked about this a bit before the show too. Sport is meant to reward those who are best, right? So unless the refs get involved, right? And there's always those fans that were like, we would have won if the ref hadn't, or if the fan hadn't have, reached out and caught the fly ball or whatever. Get over it, Boston. But it's one of those things where in sport, the best are meant to win. And so I think because F1 is a mechanical sport, it's not just the athlete, it's the athlete plus the entire team that puts this car together. When it's right, and this has been said before by others, when you're winning, it's really hard to stop winning. When you're losing, it's really hard to turn it around. So I think with F1, like you see these massive curves back to like winning ways, which ultimately impacts the competition at the front.
Totally. And I think maybe the better way to look at this is not, is Red Bull's dominance good for the sport, for F1, but is F1 responding to what seems to now be a pattern over the last 6-7 years?
A long time.
Longer than that, the last few decades, where the top teams are consistently the top teams.
Yes.
And they enter into a season of dominance, and the popularity of the sport dips in those seasons. And so now sport, this is, like we've said, it's also not the only sport in the world. And plenty of other sports have pivoted, evolved, if you would, and brought in new generation of fans, a new group of fans. Like I think of, I grew up in Australia. Cricket was traditionally extremely boring. And so you're talking week-long matches, and then they brought in these hot matches. They did the same football, where they brought in these midweek night games, and they were all brand new teams, and the crowd was involved, and there's like all these kind of craziness. Baseball recently did this.
Baseball instituted the pitch clock, and I went to a game that was under 2 hours long. Since when was baseball under 2 hours long? It was like a 6 o'clock game. I was like, oh, we're gonna be here till 9:30. It's 7:55 and the game's over. I was like, what? So I mean, it sped it up. It changed it.
And here's the thing. This is where I'm like, I don't think Red Bull should be penalized. Otherwise, I have to go back in my life to Mercedes dominance and go, why weren't they penalized?
Absolutely.
And so it's not about why is Red Bull so good and we should penalize them. Number one, it's what the hell are the other 9 teams now 3 seasons deep still not figuring out these regulations like Red Bull has? Okay, there's one side of it. But then what is the Formula One governing body going to do to inject some life into this sport? I have some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, you look at other sports, and I'll go to basketball for a second, American basketball. The teams at the bottom get the best draft pick. Now, obviously, this is a team sport, but it's also a talent sport, 100%. Right? And there are players that can turn an entire team around. And so, being from the city that I'm from, Cleveland, we were the worst.
City of sports pain.
City of sports pain and trauma. We were the worst, and therefore we got the best prospect, LeBron. And it turned the whole thing around for us. And ultimately, we ended up winning in 2016. F1 doesn't really have that. Like, they're like, yeah, you get more wind tunnel time. I'm like, okay, but maybe there's some more things we can do, because at the end of the day, the last decade and a half, it really only has been between two teams. So, and we got 10 of them. So I'd love to see the other teams not incentivized to finish poorly, but if you're a Haas, if you're a Williams, if you're an Alpine now, and you finish after the season and you're dead last, bottom of the barrel, there is more than just some extra wind tunnel time that you get. There's actually some other things that can help you get back to being competitive.
Yeah. And I will say that in this cost cap era, the argument is that, well, we don't have the money to do that. And so I think there's some latitude there. Maybe the teams that are on the lower end do get a larger amount that they can spend.
Yeah.
I know that they've made some exceptions like this. That's how Aston Martin can afford to build all of these new things, is because it's been approved and it's not going to count against them to be competitive, because there's no point in spending all your money on getting the latest building and all the technology just to not be able to get a car on the track.
No, absolutely.
And so I get that. I think more to, we need to start deregulating the sport a little bit.
Yeah.
The fact that Alonso got that penalty in Australia, the fact that Russell like going down the inside on Piastri in Japan, like Alonso last season, elbows out all the time. That should be the normal up and down the field within reason. I'm not saying that we should, go back to the F1 days of someone dies every year.
Yeah.
But absolutely. I do think the cars are robust enough now we had a like 405 freeway pileup coming around the hairpin in China, and everyone was fine.
Yeah. We were okay.
Half the cars kept driving.
Yeah, we survived.
Like, the cars are robust.
Yes. They're huge. They're like the size of like a
massive.
Hummer.
Guys, Suburban. They're huge.
Unreal.
They're massive. So I'm like, let's get a little creative. Let's deregulate some of these rules so people can actually go racing without the fear of a 10, 20-second penalty.
Yes.
And let's get crazy with these traditional tracks. Like, I think they should bring in at Monaco, I don't know if I've said this or not, a Joker lap. Like in World Rally, they have a course that they go around, and then every, I don't know, it's like 10 or 15 laps, they have to go, they have to do a Joker lap, which is a longer lap around a separate part of the course.
Yep.
Like, imagine in Monaco, the race that everyone knows is the jewel in the crown of, and if I don't win my home race or if I don't win a championship, at least I won at Monaco. Okay, great. It's boring.
Yeah. Saturday's exciting.
Saturday qualifying is incredible.
Yeah,
and great. Sunday, you might as well just watch the 30-minute recap.
Absolutely.
Because whoever finishes on pole pretty much wins the race.
Yep.
And so put a Joker lap in there. You have to go around the other side of the casino every 10th lap. That would be incredible.
No, that really would. Like, and there are things other sports have done to not just to stay relevant, but I think to realize that sport is evolving. Sport evolves with the time, and that's not a bad thing. And so, I think with F1, there are questions folks are asking purely because, not that, again, Red Bull and Max being dominant's a problem.
Yeah.
It's the fact that what is F1 going to do to actually deal with this in a way that doesn't penalize them for being the best, but says, how can we actually adapt? How can we learn? How can we grow as a sport? And I think the sprint is part of that, right?
100%.
The sprint
and this weekend was so good. I think it was Crofty who said, say what you want about the sprint.
Yes.
I would have much rather watched that than FP2.
Absolutely.
And we all agree on that. And the fact that they took the Parc Fermé rule away this year so that they could adjust the cars for the sprint and adjust the cars for the race makes total sense to me.
The sequencing it made way more sense than in past years.
And it was awesome. We watched FP1 and then we watched the sprint quali shootout, whatever they call it.
Yeah.
And then we watched the sprint and then we went into quali and then we went into race. I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah,
it's a fast-paced shoot from the hip type weekend.
No, it was great. And even within the sprint itself, there was moments where folks were getting their elbows out. And that was something where it reminded me of 2021 a bit.
Yeah.
Where I was like, this is the thing that I love about this. And no one was penalized. It was good racing. We're racing. We're
solid racing.
And so Miami, 2 weeks.
Well, that's the thing. I'm saying, again, I don't want to penalize Red Bull, but Miami's not sold out. Yeah. When Miami hit the calendar, it had so much hype around it. I think it's sold out in like no time. And
China sold out in 30 minutes, they said. I don't know if that's true because I saw some empty seats.
It's sold out in 30 minutes in a communist country.
I was like, question. It's sold out. What
the government buy all the tickets? It's sold out because we own every chair. The people do. This is the People's Republic. This is the people's race.
I was like, no one showed up until actually Sunday, guys. There's half of these stands are empty.
Yeah, it's sold out.
But
Miami's not sold out, and we're talking about a race that was like the end all be all. Like celebrities were struggling to get onto the A-list to get into Miami, and now it's not even sold out, and we're a few days out from it.
Yeah, but again, I think it does speak to your initial question, which is this ultimately something that's good? Like, we're witnessing history. BBC's Checkered Flag podcast, they were talking about how Max is on pace really to start threatening Hamilton's record of most wins.
100%.
While he's still in his 20s.
Correct.
Which is unfathomable. But like we're truly in a historic moment in the sport. And again, we should recognize that, tip our hats off to that. But I do think some things can be changed to get the pack closer,
100%,
keep the racing more competitive towards the front. And right now, it's just not. And it is a little demoralizing. And they're even saying, listen, whenever a racer is coming into the paddock and they know the best I can do is P2, the best I can do is P2.
Yeah.
Like they're like, that is demoralizing to racers. And when you're 5 laps in and Max is already 10 seconds ahead,
what are you going to do?
There's no way to say that's not demoralizing.
No,
it absolutely is. So I don't know how to change that.
Well, I don't know if you can change that. And I don't know if I want a rule that, again, penalizes someone that nails it. But I do want fun up and down the rest of the track. And I do think something like the sprint weekend makes it happen because the qualifying grid was mixed up in comparison. And it's because they didn't have 3 practice sessions to dial their car in.
Yeah.
So you have someone like Lewis Hamilton who went the wrong way because all he had was an FP1 and a sprint race, and he thought he nailed it, but he didn't, and he ends up in P18. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm like, okay, well, this makes it a little interesting now.
Yeah. Now he's got to fight through. And
he fought through. I mean, he lost a spot and then fought through another 10. But, I mean, it's pretty incredible. But at the same time, I'm like, man, what if you had Bottas and Zhou in Q2
that was
Q3?
actually,
I was like, that's crazy.
That was pretty incredible.
Valtteri, bro.
Dude.
Just pulls it out in China, dude.
This guy.
It was absolutely amazing. And so I do think the sprint format helps, but I'm wondering there's got to be something more.
I don't know if we'll see it anytime soon, but yeah, I agree.
They should just put us in charge.
I mean, I would love that. I'd love to be, I would love to have a more official role within this thing. I don't know what that looks like.
I don't know if I want to work for F1.
Would you ever want to work for a team? Would you want to do that much traveling? Here's the thing.
I would do it, but my kids would have to be out of the house.
Yeah, I'd have to come later.
I'd do it when my kids are in college. If they want to go to college, I'm not forcing that upon them. It's not everyone's choice. I agree. But anyway, this is not what we're here to talk about. It's my children's future. All right, Let's talk about some teams. Okay, Red Bull. No, let's talk about VCarb. I don't know if you caught that. Everyone switched this weekend from calling it RB to VCarb. And I'm wondering if that's just because the higher-ups at Visa Cash App got a little upset. They were like, guys, we're your title partner, and everyone's just calling you RB, which means Red Bull.
Yeah, it's been confusing. It has to have been. Crofty just said that RB stood for really bad weekend.
Did he really?
He literally was just like, RB means really bad weekend.
That's
because
incredible.
Yuki and Danny both are out for different reasons. No points. And then Ricciardo gets hit with a 3 grid penalty for Miami in a couple weeks. And so,
I mean, Yuki's to nowhere in China, though. Like Yuki's been performed the first 4 races, nails it, comes into the China weekend, and he's nowhere. Yeah, no,
it was a difficult weekend for them. I mean, Yuki qualified 19th. I want to say for both the sprint and for the actual race.
It was very bad.
Ricciardo 14th for the sprint, 12th for the race.
And Ricciardo was hanging out in 7th place for a while.
Yeah, no, he
was. Race Sunday.
Yeah, he was in the points.
He was doing really well up until he got rear-ended by the Nepo baby. And
We're trying not to make ourselves laugh too much. We both sound like
smokers because
we're not.
It's Chernobyl level, like allergy season in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Danny Rick gets rear-ended by the Nepo baby, who then comes on and says, "The guy just slammed the brakes. What an idiot!" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
I can't.
Coming off of the fact that he's all coy with Will Buxton in an interview going, "I don't know what next season's contract. I'm focused on China this weekend. I don't know." And he's like, "Yeah, but you're gonna be in the seat." And he's like, "I don't know. I'm just focused on China."
Dude, here's the thing. We've said it. We'll never stop saying it. So, to our one listener in China,
Stroll's gotta go. Stroll's gotta go.
Now, here's the thing. Everyone, even ESPN's podcast was like, listen, when Stroll Sr. is saying we're building a team, we're going for championships, we don't actually believe you anymore. We don't. Because if you were honest, and there's people at Aston that have to be asking this question, are we going for a championship or are we sticking with your kid?
Yeah.
Because those two things are irreconcilable at this point. If you actually want a championship, you got to get rid of this guy because you can't sign Alonso to a new massive, longest contract he's ever signed. We're bringing him in when Honda's here and expect us to win if we still have your son. And so I think this is the challenge that is just undeniable at this point. And it's, again, you can say all you want, you can invest and put your money where your mouth is, but at the end of the day, like, if you really are going to put your money where your mouth is, you got to go and get another more competitive second driver.
100%. I think what we'll see is that there was some rumors a few weeks ago that Aston Martin's going into the supercar competition, and maybe Stroll would take that, go get some chops over there, race over there, and come back if he has the performance. The reality is, I think you're exactly right. I really find it hard to believe he won't have that seat in at least 2025. Now, when 2026 rolls around, that's another thing.
Yeah.
And there's got to come a point where Fernando Alonso, who has been the only person over the last season and this season
dragging
to
that
take
team
it to every team. Think about last season. He was the one fighting down Perez. He was taking a car that Aston Martin was good at the beginning of the season and was pretty average for the rest of the season after everyone caught up. And he was making that thing do things that it did not have any right doing.
Brazil.
At incredible.
The end, like it was a masterclass in Alonso.
This weekend.
Yeah, it was incredible.
His team pit stopped him 2,700 times. Put him on all different. I'm surprised they didn't put him on the intermediate tires.
I was like, are you intentionally trying to like close the gap between Alonso and Stroll?
I'm so confused.
It's 10 laps left.
Yeah.
Alonso's like,
Stroll's had seven points taken away from him already by race control, and he just slithers through the field, overtaking people with seems like a sneeze. I think he's immortal. Did you see the snap when he dipped the rear tire? The same spot that ended Sainz in qualifying.
I did see the snap,
and he just
brought it back.
And the commentators were like, I think it was Nico Rosberg who was commentating with Crofty, and he's like, the guy's reflexes are
unreal,
just as good as these young, if not better than these young drivers. And the guy's pushing 3?
But yeah, he'll be 45 in 2026.
Jeez Louise.
I mean, it's just it's so one-sided. And here's the thing too. It's not like Stroll's not getting points. He scored twice.
Yeah.
But albeit 10th and then 6th. Alonso has scored every single race except for the sprint.
Yeah.
Which is a separate sidebar. So he's scored in every single race.
We're 5 races in, and the reality is Fernando has more than 3 times the amount of points that Stroll has.
Yeah. So
again,
So this is the challenging bit of it. We've got Alonso at 31. We've got Stroll at 9. Yeah. So at this point, again, it comes down to I actually think Aston in 2026 with Honda, with Alonso, you're giving yourself actually a pretty good shot to go and to win, especially because Honda is going to still be in the sport, and then you're bringing them back over. So, but if you still have a one driver team,
it's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen. And this isn't anything new. Last year we saw the same thing. That gap was just massive between those two drivers, and so I don't know what it is. If it's just the bond between father and son and the desire to like go and do this thing together.
He's just hoping that Fernando drags enough points.
I mean, is this the one Achilles heel of Stroll Sr.? Is that he cannot see past his son?
And you know what? If that's his Achilles heel, I get it.
I'd love to be a dad.
I get it. You know,
I'd love to be a dad who like.
You just can't play the shrewd businessman and have that same philosophy. Mm. But I don't know how we got on that because we started talking about Danny Rick. Oh, because he got rear-ended by the Nepo baby. Gotcha. So, and then we went over to that.
Yeah, we just talked about Aston. Should we go to Merc?
Man,
what a weekend! For Mercedes.
What a tumultuous weekend,
dude. Here's the thing. You know when you see a god of the sport.
Yes.
Some say the GOAT, the greatest of all time, holds all the records. And then you see this person who has achieved such heights, mucking it out in like the bottom with Haas. I was like, it does something to how you perceive.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
And I'm like, again,
it's like when Kimi Räikkönen was driving for Alfa Romeo. You're like, that's Kimi Räikkönen, world champion.
What is he doing?
Why is he driving for Alfa Romeo?
But here's the thing, though. It's not like Hamilton went to drive for kick.
No.
And we're
he
like,
never
Hamilton.
Left.
It's like he never left.
He never left.
So it's not just that Hamilton, the sportsman, is down in the muck. It's that Mercedes and Toto and Russ and that whole team is in the muck.
It's entered the dark years that Ferrari and McLaren were in.
We're
there.
It's such a difficult thing because it does something to how you perceive a team, a person. We talked about this before, where Michael Jordan said that the Bulls were so difficult to beat because other teams they feared them, but other teams begin to get confidence when they see the cracks in the armor. Mercedes, there's no more cracks. It's just gaping holes at this point.
Yeah.
So like it's not just that Mercedes isn't competitive, it's that people mentally aren't afraid of them anymore. And that stopped a bit ago.
Yeah.
Like we have who is Mercedes? Where are they at? Like they're mucking in the bottom now.
Yeah.
And they were untouchable before. They were dominant.
So true.
And so it's such an insane dynamic where you're not just seeing the fall of I hate even saying that like that, but what else? Yeah. What else can I say? He's racing a Haas.
It reminds me of the quote. It's like, if you make a god bleed, then the people will cease to believe that he's invincible, and then there will be blood in the water, and the sharks will come. What is that? That's from Iron Man 2. It's Mickey Rourke. But true.
But this is the challenge, and this is the pain, and we've talked about it ad nauseum almost, but it felt like a new low as I'm watching.
Yeah.
I love Hulk. Hulk's great. Hulk hasn't been on a freaking podium.
Yeah, I love Hulk.
I love him. But the fact that he's taking it to Hamilton, and I'm like, what? What are we doing?
And Hamilton, they were saying like, man, you did that was beautiful, creative, overtake on the corner of 9. It was amazing. And Hamilton's just like, thanks. It wasn't creative. I've done that overtake. I don't know why we had to do that. Like completely. That was the other thing. Okay, it has a great P2 in the sprint.
Oh, and then he got out in front, and we're like,
leading it for 9 laps. I'm like, this is awesome. And he's loving it. You could hear it on the radio.
I had chills. I was like, are we going to see Hamilton and Max battle? And then I was like, oh, Max just sneezed and passed him.
Exactly.
Okay. And Hamilton freaking let him.
Well, what was he going to do? The guy was, I get it. I'm there with you.
That dude.
I'm there with you. Yeah. Well, and that's back to my point. Why would he Alonso that guy? Because he's going to get a 10-second penalty if he does it. So that's the whole thing. Look, my whole thing about Hamilton right now is I have a new strategy for him and Bono, which is just copy George's setup. Stop going the opposite direction of George.
Yeah, where they at?
Because George is quietly figuring the car out.
Yeah, Russell, he qualified 8th. Hamilton qualified 18th. Yeah. That was for the actual race. The sprint was obviously kind of reversed of that. Russell was 11th, and Hamilton
because Russell's sitting at a cool 33 points this season. Lewis is at 19. And it's because Russ just keeps
so painful.
Going the safe route in a car that's not great. And I get it. Lewis is trying to take risks. He did it last season as well. It didn't work out.
No.
It's not working out this season based off of evidence. And so I'm like, dude, it was so weird when he was in P18. They put him on the soft tires. And he just comes on the radio. He's like, these tires have nothing. And you could just hear it. It was just like, he doesn't want to be in that car.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to be there. Is he going to fight?
He's in Italy already.
Who
Monza. Wouldn't be at this point?
Yeah. I mean, you got to give it to him. At the end of the day, he fought his way from P18 to P9. George went from P8 to P6. So when it comes to racecraft.
He did. I mean, again, Piastri finishes in front of him.
With damage.
So, but yeah, he made up some of those spaces. And again, we had.
But Piastri finished in front of him. Piastri's teammate finished P2. So that's to be expected.
True. I think it does something to, again, how we perceive someone or a team when they're struggling this hard for this long. So I don't want to see Hamilton finish 9th 3 times.
No,
this season. He's finished 9th 3 times. Like, God,
you want to see him, Fernando, Max, in equally matched cars, just duking it out, just ripping. It would be absolutely incredible.
But we're not.
No, we're not going to see that. We might see it in 2026, but we're not going to see it this year, and I doubt we'll see it next year. I will say McLaren had a phenomenal weekend.
Yeah. No,
Lando
McLaren did well.
Did he end up doing a one-stop? I'm pretty sure he did a one-stop
I think he did, actually.
And he held it out because Ferrari were trying to follow, but they couldn't. The tires were shot, and both drivers ended up making it. It was, for Ferrari, it was 2023 strategy vibes again.
Yeah, they were there was a lot of them in the sprint because they were both ganging up on Alonso and puncturing his tires as they were passing him. Yeah. I was like, you're just knocking on Alonso here. So there was a lot of them, and then the actual race kind of finished, and I was like, oh yeah, where was Ferrari that whole race? I didn't see them at all because they weren't really in it. But yeah, I mean, McLaren did well. Obviously, Lando on the podium in second. It's great to see him.
Yes,
up there. It was great to see him at the sprint.
It's great to see him almost winning again. Lando,
I'm here for it. I love to see the man win.
He's like that. He's like that friend that's forever the bridesmaid but never the bride.
True.
It's just he's always there looking up at the one stop on the first step of
he's checking
the
the trophy, not as big.
He's like, oh, okay, cool. Can I break this one too? Yeah. Spraying his thing. I mean, more power to him, but at the end of the day, McLaren keeps saying they need to give him a car that can. Which, how do you feel about that?
For all of our listeners, I was rolling my eyes. I know this is a mechanical sport. I know it takes so long to get your ducks in a row here. But there's so many team principals who are like, yeah, we just need to give him a car that can win.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, then go give him a car that can win.
100%.
Freaking, you've been doing this for a minute,
Yeah.
McLaren. Like, and I get it. And maybe this is the American. Are we just impatient here? I'm not some TikToking, social media, attention span of 5 seconds kind of guy. I actually think I have a pretty long attention span. I read books. I don't have social media.
I read books.
I'm literally finishing a 500-page novel right now.
Books.
And I was looking at I was like, oh, wait, I'm almost at the end of this thing. It's taking me like a year to read this. And I'm still chugging through. I'm like, yeah, I have a long attention span. I want the greats to have support.
Well, Lando's on a ticking clock. He's no longer, the youngest talent in the field. You're looking at the same generation of Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen has 4 world championships.
Yeah, and I think here's the frustration. This is where it comes back to me.
3, but he'll have 4 soon.
Yeah, of course he's gonna have 4. I'm seeing this through the lens of, and I'm bringing all of my Cleveland experience, and I have to keep going back there because of all the trauma. But when LeBron was in Cleveland, he was the standout player for such a long time. And all of us were like, just give him what he needs to win. Like, they went to the finals 4 times. They won once because the other 3 times he didn't have what he needed to win. And I think that's the frustration is, like, when you have a phenomenal talent, it is the duty of the team, the owner, the team principal to give that talent every fighting chance they can to win.
100%.
And so the teams that do that are the teams like the Bulls, like Golden State. As much as I hate those guys, the front office actually said, we're going to put all the pieces in place so that we are unbeatable. We're not going to like squander the talent we have. And it's frustrating when you hear, and again, I know it's a mechanical sport. I know these things take longer, but it's frustrating when you hear that, like, we just need to give them the car to win. It's like, you just do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just find a way, cross heaven and earth to do that. Because Lando's a phenomenal talent. The fact that he doesn't have a win is ridiculous.
Almost unacceptable. Yeah, and part of that is on him for sure. He's thrown away some opportunities.
He's thrown away a few things. Like, obviously, it's not all the team's fault.
But the opportunities don't come that often.
No, they really don't. They really don't.
All right, so let's talk about a team. Vowles has lost his bows.
I guess.
He doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know if he's going to be a team principal next season.
Dude, Williams
has crapped the bed.
Dude,
they've had a foul movement, and it is not a good one.
Dude, the honeymoon's over.
Oh, Alex in post interviews is so dejected. It's no longer the happy-go-lucky, dye my hair red, having the time of my life, Alex. It's no longer the
saw right through.
We've got a really slim car. The Panda helmet could not hide the frown.
No,
and that frown was not getting turned upside down.
No, because
Sargent was being Sargent.
Yeah, he did get his penalty.
He had a 10-second, and honestly, it wasn't his fault. That was the team's fault.
Yeah, he was still at the back.
We didn't know if they're going to have cars when they came into China this weekend.
It's like the team at this point is like them having a working car is an unknown. Them having 2 drivers, like I think my bet is, and this is my question to you. Let me just pose this as a question instead of a statement. Do you think Albon leaves first, or Sargent gets like kicked? Like who like which of those things is happening?
Which one of those things is going to happen?
Succession?
I think Sargent could. I actually don't know why they haven't removed Sargent already and put their reserve driver in for the rest of the season.
I have no concept.
I don't see. There's no light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah,
I'm just going to say it. It's a meritocracy. It's a performance-based sport.
Unless you're Lance Stroll.
Unless you're Stroll, and then it's never prosecuted.
But for everyone else.
And it's just this. There's nothing.
No.
There's nothing. Now, he raced. He did an overtake. It's so hard. I think the commentators are trying to be really polite there. But
I can't. It's like Wait, he actually knows how to overtake? Just mashing the overtake button.
Yeah, he's like, it's not working. You can't use DRS here,
dude. I
Logan.
think Sarge is just a button masher. He's like, there's so many buttons. I'm just gonna mash them all.
Yes, that is exactly right. He's the guy playing Tekken, and he's just going on the controller. This is like hoping that he gets a combo in. Anyway,
that's how I play.
Exactly, and that's why we're not Formula One drivers.
True.
I just don't think the team cares about Logan anymore. He got a 10-second penalty because they couldn't be bothered looking up the rules to see whether or not he needed to give the space back to Hülkenberg, who clearly passed the pit lane before Sargent was there.
No, that just feels like you're on your way out, bro. So there's only so much mental energy I can divert to you.
And let's be real, Sarge. A 10-second penalty doesn't matter.
You went from last to last, so we're fine. 10 seconds isn't going to do anything.
They've lost the mo. That's the hard thing. We went into this season thinking that they were going to pip Alpine.
It's so difficult.
Alpine disappeared. V-carb raised up barely. Haas is now beating them,
dude,
and they're nowhere. And their prize driver Alex can't pull that car together to do anything.
Dude, it's so difficult. Last year, obviously, they were in 7th, right behind Alpine, ahead of AlphaTauri, ahead of Alfa Romeo, way ahead of Haas. And again, this is the one part of Formula One that is quite phenomenal as a sport. Things just changed so quick. And Williams was coming into the season rightfully with this idea of like, wow, last year was incredible. This year's going to be phenomenal. They have 0 points. Haas is kind of leading the bottom 4 teams. Alpine's nowhere. Kick has 0 points. Williams has 0 points. At this point, it's really between V-carb and Haas.
Right.
Because
who thought we'd be saying that?
That's the thing. V-carb has 7 points. Haas has 5. Haas picked up a point this weekend.
Yes.
And then it's Aston, 30 points ahead. So like it really, when it comes to the bottom freaking 5 teams, it's V-carb and Haas has a fighting chance.
Haas keeps going. They could overtake Mercedes this season.
Mercedes has 52 points. So
I know how many points my team has. Ben, you do not need to.
When I was updating our little matrix that we got here, I was updating.
You felt you got a little bit of too much joy out of
Mercedes.
Yeah,
McLaren is quite a few points ahead. Ferrari is they're nowhere near. Mercedes is nowhere near Ferrari.
No, not even close.
Like I didn't realize the gap was that big. It's over. It's 99 points.
It's huge.
It's massive at this point in the season. It's colossal.
We're 5 races in, and the gap is larger than the Grand Canyon. That's not something that can be made up in.
No.
I don't even know if that can be made. I mean, theoretically, of course, it can be made up, but it would require Mercedes to.
Well, Mercedes has to care. Hamilton has to come back to Planet Mercedes and lock in.
Yeah.
But I mean, so Williams, it's difficult because it seemed like they were locked in last year, and this year it's like it just all unraveled.
Yeah,
to the point where again it's like, wait, do you guys even have it together to make sure you have 2 working cars?
Exactly.
Like, is this where we're at? Like, This is insane.
And you've got teams like Haas who were the laughingstock of F1 for the last few years.
I mean, incredible.
I mean, they were showing up in panel vans, dropping parts of the car off, and they're just the quiet assassins out there,
dude.
Cleaning up as many points, which is what you need to do.
Hulk's qualifying incredibly. Dude,
amazing.
We'll go to Haas. Magnussen was going at Stroll,
ripping. Dude.
They were fighting back and forth.
Racing.
Literally, Crofty's like, "What is it? Like
there's no points here, guys." But they're just going for it.
He was like, "This feels like it's a front of the grid fight." Yeah. He's like, "This is incredible." And again, it was through several corners. Ultimately, Stroll just has a faster car, and he got ahead. But this is the thing: is these Haas guys?
They're scrappy, dude.
They're scrappy. They got some fight, and they got some speed. Again, Hulk at this point, he's scored multiple times.
Yeah.
And so this is a
and he's pulling some pretty impressive laps out in qualifying for that car.
I mean,
and they've got more upgrades coming.
Yeah,
so they could only get better and better.
This is the thing,
and the other teams don't seem to be.
No, it is quite possible that Haas finishes in 6th place. I don't know that they would be able to catch. They're not going to catch Aston in 5th. They're not there. But I think 6th is actually in the cards.
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Coming from 10th last year to now being essentially ahead of, the bottom 5.
That is wild.
Right behind Aston or Mercedes or McLaren.
Another team that kind of surprised me this weekend was Kick. And I never thought I would say that.
Yeah.
Bottas in qualifying. Poor guy ends up DNFing.
I know.
Sucks because he was ripping.
Dude, yeah, he qualified really nicely.
Guan Yu Zhou, hometown hero, bawling his eyes out. They had a special spot on the grid for him.
That was actually tip of the hat. That was great. I was really thankful they did that. I mean, again, China represents a massive market. Teddy Bear was like, just a little note here. Toto was talking about how important this market is for Mercedes. Half of all Mercedes bought are in China.
No way.
That's literally what he said.
That's nuts.
So again, like
China,
I think them giving a spot to Joe at the end of the race for him to like be able to be in front of the fans was incredible. But it's like, we see you, China. Like we want to make sure that this is working out for us.
I was really bummed when Bottas like DNF'd because he qualified P9 in the sprint, P10 in the race on Sunday, and for me, I was like, man, he is driving the pants off of that car.
Dude.
There was like a fire in him.
I would love to see him.
And Joe was doing some pretty good racing.
Yeah, he really was. And obviously, like, whenever folks who race in front of their hometowns or in their country, like, it gives them a couple tenths, they'll say, right? Like when you think about Silverstone, you think about Hamilton or Lando or Russ, like those guys, like they're ripping. Like freaking Lando last year was leading in Silverstone, right? So like I think it's one of those.
Yeah, so true.
So it's like I think for Joe,
one of those forces that can't be described or explained.
Yes, it is. It's like when you're in front of your people, in front of your family, in front of like your city, like So it was incredible to see him perform at a higher level, get through qualifying. That was phenomenal. Like hats off. That was a great part of the weekend.
Yeah. And then another team that really did not surprise me at all was Alpine.
Yeah,
they did a little bit better. I was like, oh, maybe they figured it out, and then no points.
Yeah, no. My notes here were out of the points. What's new? The only action was that Gasly's pit stop where he
almost killed.
Do you see the
his engineer? Yes.
They like purposely didn't really replay it that much. It was like, okay, here's what
it was brutal, dude. The guy looked like he was knocked halfway across the thing. He was like battered.
Thankfully, I think he's okay.
Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
But yeah, I mean, Alpine,
not what they needed.
What do they need?
They need to throw that car in the garbage. Honestly,
they just need to leave F1.
They need to quit
and like make room for Andretti finally.
Exactly. They confirmed that they are not selling, but they're also owned by most of the French people.
Please,
so.
Ryan Reynolds, please don't sell, guys. I'm gonna lose so much money.
Yeah, exactly. Wrexham can't handle it. It was an interesting weekend for sure. And coming into the weekend, though, some pretty big news. Fernando Alonso signs till 2026 and with an ambassadorship and or some other kind of role within future. Aston Martin after his time at F1 if he chooses not to continue.
Good for him to just lock in. There was tons of talk. Is he going to Mercedes? Is he going here or there? Yeah. Like, is Sainz going to Aston? I mean, Sainz realistically should go to Aston.
I think
along
it would be
with Alonso,
incredible a double Spaniard sign up would be sick.
I mean, that's not going to happen. So whatever. But yeah, it was huge news. It's not going to happen.
It's not. It would
Stroll
be cool though.
Loves his son.
Yeah, I know.
It's getting in the way of his business sense.
Yeah, but I did think it was pretty cool. They will be, which I didn't think about this until he said it, the only team on the grid with a Honda power unit, which will be absolutely incredible, considering that we know that it's given the last 3 constructors world championships.
It has.
And driver championships, and is looking like it's going to give them their 4th in a row. Possibly a 5th going into possibly a 5th going into 2020. Nah, man, Mercedes is going to pull it out in 2025. Everyone knows.
There's now 3 Everest mountains they need to climb. Last year as well, we got to go climb Everest to get back. It was like, no, there's a mountain range that you now need to get over.
Yeah, we're in the Alps. And
no, I mean it's huge news for Alonso. People constantly talk about his age.
Who cares? The guy is racing.
The guy's
like a
racing
gangster.
Lights out, and he's untouchable. So let the guy race.
Also, his 45 looks better than my 34. So
dude, that guy looks so good.
Exactly.
I'm like, if I could at that age look that way.
Yeah.
I mean, I do a little yoga. I do a little yoga. I try. 15 minutes a day is all I can really do. You don't got time for anything else. But they're not. These guys aren't doing yoga. I mean, they're freaking. Those neck workouts.
They're doing real. They're doing real workouts, man. Other news going into this weekend is that Christian Horner was asked if they were going to announce their driver lineup for 2025, in which he said in jest, "Well, it's crazy that we're five laps into it, 5 races into this, and we're still talking about this." And then insert the Red Bull power struggle drama of 2024. Classic. Well, Helmut Marko says, the reporter says, that there was an offer from Red Bull for Sainz, but they can't match Audi's offer to Sainz for 2020.
Yeah, that did come up. Crofty talked about that.
Because Audi has now purchased the majority of the program. So it looks like they may become the name sponsor next year in advance of their power.
Instead of Kick.
They're
kicking Kick.
They're kicking Kick. They're still waiting to see if that actually comes to fruition or not. But it looks like they're trying to get a big name in there, and Sainz he's hot to trot right now.
I mean, he is. I know that's not where everyone's saying he wants to go. He wants to be towards the front of the grid. Mercedes is still a possibility. But really, that's kind of it. And at this point, I don't know that that's actually going to be a possibility that that comes to fruition. So
the only reason why I think Mercedes would take him is to say, Ferrari, you kicked the wrong driver, and yeah, sure, we'll take your better driver as a bit of a middle finger to Ferrari for taking Lewis, the old Monaco power struggle. And I think that could be a possibility, but at the same time, I don't think Sainz wants to go there because we know that they're not going to give anyone more than a year's contract.
Yeah, he deserves multiple years. The guy deserves a team that's going to have his back and is going to actually believe in him. And so if that's Audi, and if Audi's contract is a multi-year, hey, we want to build this team around you, it'd be kind of the first team that actually did that to him.
Right.
And the guy deserves a freaking team that builds.
Can you believe we're saying that? Would we have said that 6 months ago? Also, you pointed out the interesting verbiage around the fact that Red Bull can't match an offer from Audi. Explain your eye roll.
It's Red Bull. So
they're paying Max Verstappen $55 million a year.
Can't isn't in their vocabulary. They can do whatever the hell they want. It's Red Bull. Red Bull only does what Red Bull wants to do.
Correct.
They don't, and this is what makes them ruthless. They only do what they believe is going to get them to win.
Right.
And they that is their truth. That is the North Star.
That's their truth.
No, I'm serious. It is. So it's like Checo. They're like, Checo. And one of the comments that Horn Dog made, that Teddy called him out for, Teddy was like, so Horn Dog's there, and reporters are asking him about, hey, Checo's improved his performance, and he's been working with a coach, and he's been doing a lot better this year. And what do you think about that? And he's like, well, I think he's doing better because his contract's up for renewal this year.
Exactly.
And Teddy's like, that's kind of a terrible thing to say. You've got this guy who's on a knife's edge. He's been on the knife's edge. He's never had your approval as a team. Where it's like, Checo, we will commit to you, right? Like, yeah, last year when they signed him at Monaco, gave him an extension because he won. It's like, but like at the end of the day, it's just like the guy deserves a team that says, "Hey, you're actually good."
Exactly.
And Max is. We can't compare you to him. Just show up and race. And so Teddy's like, dude. And then he goes on to talk about signs. And so I think it's one of these things where for Red Bull, their North Star, again, is we're going to win. We're going to dominate. And you're either going to support us in that or you're not. And if you're not, you're done.
Well, that's the other interesting side of the comment is because the whole reason why Christian was asked this question is because Checo has told the press that they can expect an announcement in the near future about where he's going to be racing, which everyone immediately suspected that it would just be Red Bull announcing that they're going to stick with Checo and Max next year because Checo gave him P2 last year and he's on track to give him P2 this year.
Yeah.
So, why mess with it going into 2025? Then Christian says, no, we're not going to announce it anytime soon. But Checo's saying, I'm ready to announce. So my thought is, what if Checo just goes, I'm done and I'm going to go somewhere else? What if it ends up being Checo and signs at Audi?
Oh, wow.
I don't think that's remotely possible, but that would be a crazy lineup.
Then Bottas just goes into retirement.
Who knows what happens to Bottas? But
no, I mean that's actually quite phenomenal. Checo also is someone who a phenomenal race driver. All these guys, I'll say this for context. All these guys live on a razor's edge, right? Like unless you're Stroll, put him aside. He's the outlier here. You are judged on your last performances, on your last, it is meritocracy. So, but at the same time, like Checo and Sainz are guys that deserve a team's full backing.
Yeah.
I fully believe that. They've put in the miles. They've put in the blood, sweat, and tears. And they deserve a team that says, hey, we're going to commit to you and we're not going to make you walk this tightrope. You think Max is worried? The dude's got a freaking contract through the end of eternity.
Well, he has 3 world championships.
Well, and this is also the difference. But both Sainz and Checo are race winners.
100%.
And so this is, I think, the challenge is these guys deserve a team that says you're good. We're going to build a car around you. Yep. Because Checo, let's be honest, he's racing Max's car.
Yep.
The design of that car is Max's way. And so, yeah, I would not be surprised if Checo was like, hey, I'm actually going to take some power here and I'm going to actually announce.
Well, and that's where I'm at. I'm like, dude,
that'd be incredible.
Come on, Checo.
That'd be incredible if he's like,
get out from the thumb of the drama and go and get a team that's going to go, I'm putting everything behind you.
Yeah, multi-year contract. That'd be phenomenal. Like, and that would be actually like kind of a baller move if Audi actually did that and said, hey, Sainz, Checo.
Well, that's why I think they might do it. It would cause them waves.
I mean, it'd be incredible. That would actually be a phenomenal move.
And it would be a massive statement on their part to say, we're not just coming into this sport to hope that we can find our footing. We're coming in out of the gates swinging with the intention of winning championships. And in order to do that, we're gonna have 2 phenomenal modern race winners on our team. It would be the story.
That's baller. I hope that's an alternate reality that is actually true.
Me too. Otherwise, the alternate reality is that Stroll gets flicked and Checo goes back to Racing Point.
Money on that. I don't think it's going to happen, so I would lose my money. But
it would be amazing.
Part of me that just desperately wants it to happen.
All right, we are wrapped on China.
We are.
China's done. It was a great weekend, and I genuinely look forward to China next year. It was a very fun racetrack to watch.
Yeah, it was overall a great weekend. There was tons of drama. Again, there was rain. There was fire. There was folks sliding like glass all over the track. We had a mixed up grid. We had folks fighting their way through. We had 2 safety cars. We had a virtual safety car. There was a lot that happened. It was a pretty eventful weekend. Again, the result at the front, number 1, was what we could expect this year. But the sprint was great. Qualifying sessions were great. It was overall a great weekend.
Yeah, China 2024 in the books. First year back in 5 years since its virus blessed the world. And it was a fun weekend. Man, if I go to China, if I ever go to the Chinese Grand Prix, I'm just gonna wear a green T-shirt with a Taiwanese like flag on it.
Oh my gosh.
And you're gonna hate me.
No, I mean some of the countries that F1 races in, it's a little challenging.
Oh, you mean like Azerbaijan?
I'm just saying. There's some tension that I, as a fan of the sport, definitely feel with some of the sponsor. Some of the sponsors,
like Saudi Arabia,
the countries. I was like, guys,
we're going carbon neutral, and our main sponsor is Aramco.
Stuff.
The biggest, Okay, anyway. Well, 12 days away from the Miami Grand Prix, and it's back in America.
Back in the U.S.
Our first of 3 races this year. We're very excited. I say 12 days, and I know it's technically 13, but 12 days until qualifying, and that's what's important because you need to lock in your fantasy teams. Ben, you are doing so well this season.
I'm not doing well. You know why? Because here's the thing. People in the past have been like, Ben, come play fantasy football with us. I was like, I have no time or no energy to devote to fantasy. I say that as a cop-out. I say that as a defense mechanism because I'm clearly not. Your wife is beating me.
My wife is literally beating
She just joined the league, and now she's already ahead.
Yeah. She's had a team since the beginning. She's a hero. I love her so much. But anyway, she's in there. It's still being won by 117. And close on their heels is BG Racing. So if you want to join our fantasy league, even if you have a team and you haven't joined yet, all of your points will load in there. You can do that in the race notes. You can also follow us on Spotify, iTunes, anywhere else you're listening to this. Subscribe on YouTube. Best way to stay up to date with us is on there and our Instagram. As always, let's keep rolling.
Thanks, folks.